my grandmother would be proud tonight. I'm getting ready to do some scrambled eggs. We've got chocolate gravy and biscuits and turkey sausage. So I'm gonna show you, or attempt to show you, how to make fresh milled biscuits. Now, if you don't have fresh milled, you're gonna do basically the exact same thing. It'll just look a little different. Okay, so I think these did turn out even better than the last ones. They look more like a typical Southern biscuit that you would see. Like that is, I mean, that's like an inch easy. So I'm very, very pleased. Those are definitely higher than these other ones. I won't take them out. But they're so good. You can hear everybody eating in the background. Turn it around. Big, gigantic, delicious biscuits for chocolate gravy or sausage gravy, or just to eat plain. I figured that there would be a taste difference, but I don't taste any taste difference, so I'm really excited. I've used my Southern biscuit recipe that I will share, that I got from somebody's grandma, and watched the video years ago, and that's my go-to recipe. So when we switched to fresh milled, I wasn't sure if I could do the same biscuit or not. And the only thing that I did, if you are using fresh milled, for every 1 cup of flour that you use, you want to up it by 1/4 of a cup. So not too bad. Here I've got all the flour and baking soda and salt and all that stuff. Now I'm going to put in the butter, and I'm going to use my hands, and I'm just going to basically smush it into the flour. I do have a pastry cutter, and I decided that washing a pastry cutter is worse than getting your hands dirty. So with biscuits, it's a little bit easier to do your hands. So we're gonna cut the butter in, and then we're gonna pour milk in. Okay, so the secret to biscuits is cold butter. So I don't know if you can tell, but in here, this is a chunk of, oh, dropped it. This is a little bitty piece of, I'll drop it, butter. Okay, so you feel through, and I've heard people say maybe like pea size, but basically you just want to smush it, but you want to keep chunks of butter so that when it melts, oh my goodness, it's so good in your thing. Then if you don't have buttermilk, which we did not, I used, kind of curdles it, I used butter and vinegar, and together that makes like a buttermilk. Now, if I had my Danish dough hook, I would use it, but it is over there in bread. We have Ezekiel muffins there, starter for tomorrow there, and my Danish dough hooks in the sink from the 2 loaves I made earlier. The only bad thing about cooking a lot is that you're constantly having a really messy kitchen. And I don't typically cook this much, but the kids, normally this is my bread day, and then I won't cook as much the rest of the week, but the kids talked me into chocolate gravy for dinner. So, okay, you might have to scoot back out now. So that's what we're doing. So now, this may seem weird, but I'm going to heavily coat the surface, and then I'm gonna turn this out. It's very wet, and I'm going to put that down, and then I'm so pleased that I don't have to do anything different for my recipe. That's the one thing that has kind of scared me, I guess, from switching our flour up, is that, you know, not everything maybe can switch over, but so far I have found lots of things that do switch well. So I've been really tickled about that. Okay, so you've got your surface coated. You don't typically have to do this, but with biscuits you do. And then I'm gonna coat my hands real good, and I'm gonna use my hand to pat it out, and we're gonna pour more over the surface. And what we're trying to do is we're making basically a non-stick surface. Now when I do sourdough bread, I do not use flour to make that surface, because you don't want your sourdough bread to be overly floured or cakey. But for biscuits, you do. And part of the reason I think that you want to do that is you do not want to mix this dough, and you don't want to roll it out a lot. I used to use a rolling pin, but now I just use my hand. So if I keep mixing with this, the butter is going to slowly melt, and we don't want it to melt. We want it to stay cold and firm and put it in the oven. So we are going to, you saw, I just smushed around the edges, so I have flour around, flour on top, flour at the bottom, and now I'm going to pat it down. Now, what I can do, I tried an experiment, I did it with both, so I'm actually gonna fold it in once all over, or fold it in fours, I guess, and pat it down, and then flour the edges again and smush. So I did 2 pans of biscuits there. One I folded, one I just left flour on the bottom, flour on the top, and then took my fancy biscuit cutter and took them out. There was basically no difference between the biscuits. So the reason I folded it is when I put this in, if there's flour inside kind of coating, it will help each biscuit to not, I don't know, be stuck together. Hope that makes sense. You just watch and then hopefully you can do it at home. So I've probably already patted it too much because I'm talking. You want it to be about 1/2 inch and then flat around, and then you're just gonna push, woo, straight down. And we're gonna set them over here. I should have already had my pan ready. The oven is preheated to 450, so it's nice and hot. And then you don't twist. I don't know why, but that's what I've heard. You just push down. Now these, I think, are gonna be even prettier than those. Oh, I'm so excited.
And I have twisted before.
This one looks like it's got a thing out of it.
I have twisted before, and it does mess up the thing. That's why you don't really twist it, because then you don't have that perfect roundness. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I just know that the sweet grandma lady said don't twist it. Okay. And it's okay if they're a little messy. And you can dust off some of the flour. I mean, if there's flour in the pan, definitely dust off the flour in the pan. You don't really want it. Okay, so this one is just the scrapings left, and you can kind of just roll it out in a ball. And then I want to put them in the shape of a flower so that they're all kissing. And these might be a little too floured, but it's really hard, I've decided, to cook and talk at the same time and try to explain what you're doing, because sometimes you just do it by what you're used to. So honestly, because those have got the lines out, they kind of fit good. I normally use my bigger skillet, but since there's only 6, oh no, there's another one. Drats. Oh well. So since there is, I thought there was only 6, so I was gonna use the small one. And that one looks a little funny. It's okay. Okay, so I want them all to be touching. They just do better from touching, and then we're gonna put them in and see them in 15 minutes.